All right, hey everybody, TG Watkins here, and we're going to be doing the Moxie Minutes over here at StockCharts.com. Once again, this is a new partnership that we have with StockCharts.com, so we're very appreciative of it, and I hope you guys have been getting some value out of it too. This is going to be a weekly thing that we put out there so that you guys can kind of see what's going on with the markets as a weekly review and recap. And then also, those of you who are new to the Moxie Indicator, the indicator that I've designed to come up with along with the trading methodology behind it, this way you guys can kind of start seeing how I trade, how I use it in the market, and what we do with it. And that way, if it resonates with you and you like it, you guys can go and purchase it and pick it up for yourself with one of the new ACP plugins over here at StockCharts.com. So we're going to have all the information that you need in the description of this video. And other than that, we're going to be diving into the markets, and I think you guys have been seeing it's been a pretty rough kind of week for the markets. But you know what? That's fine with us because we've been trading some short stuff. We've actually been long one name in particular, so we've been doing just fine this week. It's been fun. It's been active and interesting. So we're going to be going through some of that. And over here at ProfitPilot.com, you guys can see the newsletters that I write, and this last one is pretty relevant. I try and make them always relevant, but talking about the inverse trampoline setup. So in the case like this, when we're in a bear situation, the inverse trampoline move is pretty important. It helps keep you out of false longs, or it's a place that you can go short. And this is what helped keep us very much intact for keeping our profits and making sure that we didn't get into any long setups that were just going to get blown up anyway. So this has been very good, and it worked out like an absolute charm. So fun stuff with the Moxie subscribers this week, and it's only Thursday. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to go over here into the markets themselves, and what we can see is basically everything has been moving down. And a couple of things that I want to point out to you so you guys can kind of figure out how I trade using the Moxie Indicator. The inverse trampoline move is that price should not be over the 50 SMA, and this means whatever time frame that you're looking at or working with. And so price should not be over the 50 while the Moxie indicator is below 0. And so here is the 0 line, so you can see it right in through here. And you can see that the Moxie indicator is very much below 0. And then you can see here on the hourly chart that price is over the hourly 50. And the 50 is this magenta colored line right there. So you can see that price was over it and the Moxie indicator was below it. So inverse trampoline move, price should not be up there if the indicator is below 0. And I was guiding and telling all my subscribers and doing the newsletter thing, telling them this doesn't look good and we should be looking for a pullback at some point. I even said that I'm not sure that the hourly 50 is going to be support, and sure enough, earlier this week, I think it was Monday, price pretty much just opened right at the hourly 50 and then just kept going down. So all of this has really been pretty much what we've been expecting from the market, and that's good news for us as we're able to take advantage of that. So and stay safe. So also it was end of the quarter, so there's a lot of selling going into that. The other thing that I want to be showing you guys going into yesterday and the day before, when we were looking at the S&P kind of at this previous low area, it's a double bottom. We actually have another double bottom down here. So you have to figure out, well, what area is going to be holding. And so we look at that, and basically all the traders here are looking left at this previous area that price bounced, and they're saying, hey, well, it bounced last time. This was an area of support, and price is down here right now. Is it going to go higher or not? And maybe you're kind of looking at this saying, well, it doesn't want to go down yet, so maybe that's going to be good. Well, I was again guiding to the subscribers that, hey, price is probably going to be running right into the underside of the 15-minute 50, and sure enough, that's exactly what it did right here. Is price ran right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. And notice here that the Moxie indicators were very much below 0. So that's another clue to be looking at this is, hey, we've got the moving averages down, we've got the Moxie indicators below 0, we've got an inverse trampoline move. Like, all this stuff is not looking good for the long side, and so you need to start taking advantage to things on the short side. And so there's been some pretty good trades in through here this week. So we've been pretty happy about that. Now, really, if we look at the higher time frames, the only other thing to kind of consider this, or consider around here, is that we might be getting a bounce at some point. And I say that because at the weekly time frame, we are now for the second week at the weekly 21 EMA, which is a typical place for price to find some support. We've seen it here, kind of saw it there, and even through here we saw it. Price comes down to the weekly 21 EMA to find some support and bounce. Now, that doesn't mean it has to right now. We need to keep watching the lower time frames to figure out when that's actually going to happen. But it is something to know that on the higher time frames, we are at some possible support. Now, if price does not hold the weekly 21, this could bode something worse. And I kind of reference you here to the daily chart right here is that, I was looking for the S&P to come down to the daily 21 and find some support. Well, when the daily 21 was not support, that kind of said that there was something bigger and worse going on here. So we do need to keep that in mind for the S&P on the weekly chart, that if it doesn't like the weekly 21, it can kind of mush along there and go even lower. So we do have a kind of that push-pull between, is it going to be support or is it not going to? And we just need to keep using the lower time frames to help us figure that out. All right, so then if we go over to the NASDAQ, kind of just show you what's going on over here, it's basically the same thing. And it just could not get itself picked up today. Price, again, just like the S&P, ran into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicators just weren't looking very good at all. It didn't quite fall off quite as much as the S&P, but it just kept pushing down last couple days. So there's really nothing here yet. Maybe there is a snapback to the upside coming at some point, but we don't see it yet. There are no clues yet. And again, I'll show you this was the inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. So if we get a snapback, just be careful, because any of these up moves might be into resistance, and they might actually be where you start shorting some things. So that's a possibility. Just be very careful out there. We've got a lot of big movements going around. All right, then if we look at the IWM, this is another one that we've been trying to figure out really what's going to be going on and what's happening. I will say that if we kind of zoom in this a little bit there, the move up and over right here on the hourly chart and here on the daily chart, great. I'm happy about that. And I think what I was talking to you guys last week was I usually like to see pullbacks. I want to see price come back down to the moving averages. I want to see them test support. I want to see proof. I don't want to just buy the dip, because if we tried buying the dip this week, that would have been very painful. So just because price came down here and price came down here into possible support does not mean I just go buy it right there. I have to see price come back down to those moving averages, hold those moving averages, and then actually start to turn back up, and we just have not gotten that yet. You can see here also on the 15-minute time frame, price just kept getting pushed down and finding resistance at the 15-minute 50, and you can see that the Moxie indicator here on the 15-minute time frame is just telling us nothing. I mean, that is very much below 0. They're trending sideways down below 0. There is no strength in that. So looking at all the indexes, there is 0 strength going on out there, and so that's why I've been kind of holding a lot of things on the short side, because, well, I have been seeing no conviction to the long side. But that's kind of what we're looking at for that one. Now let's get into a couple of the names. GH, we had a very good trade on this one this week. It was clean, it was simple, it was easy, it was like no frills. It just worked nicely, and it's good to have that back in here. So let me kind of set this up for you. And going back to the inverse trampoline move, right? We were talking about that earlier, showing how the inverse trampoline move is like, hey, you shouldn't be going long right now, or if it's the right setup, then you can go short. And what we could see that we had price here on the hourly chart up over the hourly 50, and notice that the Moxie indicator was below 0. There's an inverse trampoline move. So that was the first thing that was catching my attention. Then we could also see that price was up here basically doing a double top, and that there was some resistance here at the daily 200. And so all these things were starting to speak to me and say, hey, I think there's an opportunity for price to come back down to possible support, maybe down here to the daily 50. And so what we started looking for were those signs that yes, in fact, this was going to happen. The first sign that was right here when price kind of came down and the 8 got below the 21. Because what's the definition of a downtrend? When the fast moving average is below the slow moving average. And so there you go. We've got the 8 below the 21. And then what about over here? We could see that price came down and then bounced into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator very much below zero and trending down. That fulfills all of the rules that the Moxie indicator has. And then what you can see is it continues to go down and go down and go down, and nice little drop right there, and it came right to the daily 50 SMA. I mean, just perfect. So I think we got about 9% out of this thing. If you guys traded some options, then you can, whatever those were going to come out. I do have a lot of people who do like to trade options in my subscription service, my Mastery, because they like options, but they like the way that I teach things. Now, I'm not much of an options trader, so I don't really give option setups. But if you like the way something looks and if you want to go do your option strategy on it, by all means. I'm just trying to tell you where things are going to go, how price is going to move, and I think you can then make some educated guesses and trades about that. Now, we've had that first trade down, right? And price bounced. I'm kind of wondering if there might actually be another short in this name. And part of the reason why I'm saying that is here on the hourly chart, we saw that the first start of the move was when the 8 crossed below the 21. Right? Well, what do we have going on right here now at the daily chart? The 8 is very, very close to the 21, and there's a good chance that if this keeps getting weak, then we could get the 8 below the 21 and starting to cross over, and we could then even maybe get price to come back down to the daily 50 and then maybe even break down below the daily 50. I'm going to show you JD after this because that's exactly what happened with JD, and we took that to the short side also. The other thing that you'll pay attention to is price has bounced back up into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. And you know what? Doesn't that look a whole lot like this right there? When price first started this, we got price underneath or bouncing up into the underside of the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator was below zero. Sure looks pretty similar to me, just on a different time frame. So I think that there might be an opportunity to short this name again. So just kind of putting that out there for you. All right, let's go over to JD. Now, if we look at the higher time frames on this one, it's also a Chinese stock. Chinese stocks are having a hard time right now. There's a lot of people who want to be getting out of them, basically. And if we look at overhead resistance, now keep in mind, this is on the monthly and weekly time frame. Look at price running right into the underside of the monthly 10. And if we look here, price ran right into the underside of the weekly 50. And I caught it short right about there when I could see that this was probably going to keep transitioning downward. So if we come over here to, let's see, the 15 and the hourly, then what we could see is I saw that price, just like GH, bounced off of the daily 50. Okay, let it do its thing. And what did it do? It bounced here into the underside of the downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero, and so we shorted it right there. Came down. Now it did decide to hit the daily 50 one more time, kind of hit this level, and then it bounced up. Now it stayed within my stop, so this worked perfectly. And the next thing that happened was this right here. This is price over a downtrending hourly 50 while the Moxie indicator is below zero. And what's that? It's an inverse trampoline move. So again, with the market, with this, with the GH, we're seeing a lot of inverse trampoline moves, and these are good areas to be shorting, good things to be looking at to short. And we can see that price should not be over the hourly 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. So this was a really good situation. It continued to come down, and then you can see it finally broke below its daily 50, and so this is working out wonderfully for us, and so we're pretty happy with this. I'm seeing it as a continuation to the downside as price continues to run into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50, so this should be a pretty good situation for us as well. All right, now moving on, let's look at Edit. Now Edit, I tried shorting this a while ago and didn't quite catch it correctly, and I'll show you what that looks like. So my original thesis on this one, if we look at Edit, is that it was overbought and it had kind of gapped off some of these moving averages. So you can see here, I was trying to catch Edit short right there as it ran right into this area of previous resistance, and there was a big gap between price and the 8 EMA. So we're looking at that saying, okay, there should be an opportunity, price should be coming back down. And as I said, I didn't quite catch it right. We were trying to short it right here as price got underneath the hourly 50. It decided to go back up. It was kind of a janky move up. It was very rough and very not smooth. But ultimately, if you kind of step back and you look at this thing, notice that price kept going higher, but the Moxie indicator kept going lower. So this is the power of the Moxie indicator telling you what's going on inside of price that price may not be telling you. Because if you were just kind of looking at this, you might say, hey, this is actually pretty strong. It keeps going up and up and up and up. But if you look at the Moxie indicator, it's telling you something else. Price is trying to go higher on less and less and less energy. And if you just look at that, look, the Moxie indicator is just down here at zero, just fading, even though price keeps trying to make newer highs. That's telling you something. The Moxie indicator is trying to communicate to you. So when did this thing finally break over and start going down? Well, let me move this around over here so that we get our cursors lined up. You can see it was right here when price did finally get underneath the hourly 50 and used the hourly 50 as resistance. And you can see, look how red the Moxie indicator was and below the zero line. You could also see here price ran right into the underside of the 15-minute 200, and then this thing just careened on down. Now I'll show you another thing. Today is basically the day of inverse trampoline moves, right? That's kind of what we've been talking about a lot. Look at this. Lo and behold, here is your other shorting opportunity on Edit. Right there when price tried to pop up over the hourly 50. Notice how far down the Moxie indicator was below zero. There was no hope for price to stay over that. This was a huge inverse trampoline move. You should not be going long in something like that. And if you're interested in going short, then that's a pretty good thing that you need to be looking for so that you can catch something like that. So, as I said, a lot of inverse trampoline moves going on around here because, well, the market is going down. All right, so let's see, the next one, BGFV. Now I wanted to talk about this one because I think this is one of the tickers that we started with when I first debuted at StockCharts.com, started talking to you guys about that move up and then the pullback and then saying, hey, you know, I'm looking and waiting for the opportunity. And what you'll notice is that it didn't work out. But that's fine because we never actually took another long trade. I'll show you the process. So remember, we caught this really nice move up here, and I showed you all the things about that. If you guys want to check it out, you go back to the first video that I have done with StockCharts.com here on YouTube. And then I was saying, hey, you know, most likely price is going to have to come back down to the daily 50. That's what we're looking for. And, well, lo and behold, there's price coming back down to the daily 50. Now, do we go buy it? Well, I don't like to just buy things just because they're at a moving average. I don't have any confirmation that it's actually going to hold and actually going to be working out. And so what I do later is I then say, okay, so price is here at the daily 50. How about the hourly chart? Oh yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. We got price up and over the hourly 50, but what's the problem? The Moxie indicator is still below zero. Again, this is the power of the Moxie indicator, is it helps keep you out of bad trades. It helps keep you out of these false longs because, you know, if you were trading without the indicator, you'd say, yeah, this bounced at the daily 50. This looks great. And then you also say, yeah, price is crossing over the hourly 50. This looks great. Now, in my world, I like to see price come back down to test those 50s, right? So here we have price now testing the hourly 50. And you'd be like, hey, why aren't we going long? This thing looks great. What's your deal? Everything is checking your boxes, right? Well, the problem is the Moxie indicator. Look, even though all this time price was over the hourly 50, what was the Moxie indicator doing? It was still staying below the zero line. This is an inverse trampoline move. It can last for days. Yeah, I've shown you like 5 examples of that just right now. So price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. So this never set up as a long trade. And then the other thing that confirmed for me was in the last couple days, I never got price on Big 5. Price never engaged with the 15-minute 50. It never got on. It got over it, but it never held the 15-minute 50. It kept breaking down. And then what you can see here is, look, right here. Here is kind of either the short or just like, look, there is no long. Price was underneath a downtrending 15-minute 50, and look where the Moxie indicator was, below zero. So therefore, it's either a short or you just don't take the long trade. So very, very good, clear stuff that I think the wisdom of how I trade and the methodology that I have here, this has kept some of my traders safe that we are not in something like Big 5 because we could see that it wasn't working out. None of the long rules actually fulfilled themselves. All right, so then let's go check LABU. Another one that I had talked about last week, so I want to do a little bit of a follow-up on that one. And this one, we're talking about, let's see, I guess that'll work. Actually, let me slide over here, so we'll show a bigger screen. I get a little bit more surface area. All right, so if we zoom in, and we're looking at LABU, we got it both here and here. So what we're seeing is, remember, just like Big 5, we got that big move up over the daily 50, and then we have price coming back down into the daily 50. So you're like, okay, are we looking for price to bounce off the daily 50? It should be support. Let's just go in. Well, without the Moxie indicator, you might do that, and you might say, well, okay, I'm just going to go in because it bounced off the daily 50, and I'll set my stop below that just in case it doesn't work. Well, there is a way with the Moxie indicator that you can tell that this thing was not going to be working out ahead of time, so that you can either get out because it wasn't working, and you save yourself a few bucks and points because you don't have to have your stop hit, or you just never get it in the first place. And so what we can see is right here. This is the thing that I was looking for, just like Big 5, right? I noticed that price was finally getting up and over the hourly 50, and then I want to see, is price going to hold the hourly 50? And the concern was that even through this whole process of price trying to get over that hourly 50, notice that the Moxie indicator was below 0 the entire time, right? So, yet again, another inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, and this is the thing that also kept me out of this trade. I was really looking at this. I was trying to see if price was going to hold the daily 50 and the hourly 200, and then I was really looking closely to see if price was going to hold that hourly 50 and we were going to start moving up like this. Nope. Moxie indicator said it's not safe yet. The rules have not been fulfilled. This is an inverse trampoline move. I don't know about shorting it, but definitely don't go long. So we avoided a trade like that, and it worked out very well for us. And then KC, another one that we'd spoken about last week that we're going to be kind of following up about. Yet again, same thing, just like LABU. Up over the daily 50, and then it came back down to the daily 50, and now we need to figure out, is this thing going to hold the daily 50 and start moving up? Well, and I think I talked about this. I said, well, this is an inverse trampoline move. Price is pushing up over a downtrending hourly 50, and the Moxie indicator is below 0. So I said, hey, we at least need to see a little bit more time. We need to see price continue to stay over the hourly 50. We need to see the Moxie indicator get over 0, and we need to see this thing actually start to move up and motivate to the upside. Well, none of that happened either. Look at this. The Moxie indicator stayed very much below 0 the entire time, and even did another inverse trampoline move right there, and it just didn't work. So this thing completely careened on over, and this actually looks a lot like the JD trade that we were taking. So a couple inverse trampoline moves on the hourly chart set us up to break below the daily 50 and have this thing go lower. So maybe there are a couple points on the short side for stuff like this. The market's allowing it. But we'll have to see. If you guys are long only or you're looking for long trades on this, they're just not here yet. We just have to wait until we find something else. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's session. I really appreciate you guys coming to check this out. We've been getting a lot of attention. StockCharts.com, they've got a lot of popular people out there. I am thrilled to be part of the session and out there talking to you guys, educating you. And you know what? If we can help you become better traders, if you like the Moxie indicator and if it resonates and works for you, great. Come pick it up. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave comments in the comments section, and I'll get out there and I'll look at them and see if we can actually answer any of your questions for next time. So do be careful out there. End of quarter just happened today. We'll see what October brings us. I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's more weakness generally. That's not to say we can't bounce first and then we get some more weakness, but basically the market does not look happy. Make sure that you're protecting yourself. Take your profits when you can. This market is very challenging right now, and make sure that you are staying on the correct side of the market. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll catch you next week.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.